So this is a review of the Rockwell Versacut miniature circular saw. I got this tool as a gift and I've used it a little bit, and I just wanted to give my impressions of this tool. Rockwell seems to make pretty good tools. I own a few of their tools now. I personally I'm more of a DeWalt guy. I like their tools. But anyways, Rockwell, my experience so far has been they've been decent. I have their Blade Runner, and I have an oscillating tool that's a couple years old, and that still works quite nice. They're quite innovative in their ergonomics and the materials they use. But let's talk about this saw. So let's talk about what it comes with. So it came in this nice pretty box, a tool bag. You can just fit everything in. This this guide protector, this smooth protector for cutting materials that you don't want to mar up in case of these screws, or if the bottom's a little rough. I don't know. It's probably useful for something. I don't know. This is a sheet metal blade that it came with. It came with 3 blades. This one's it says thin sheet metal aluminum, 44 teeth. The blades are 3 3/8 inch in diameter. This one is for cutting ceramics, so it's a diamond 60 grit blade. I don't know. I don't know if I would cut too much stuff with a diamond blade without water, and this isn't really meant for cutting with water, obviously. But my experience cutting with any type of abrasive with ceramics is it throws up a ton of dust and it's just messy. Yeah, maybe it's probably good for some usage. I don't know if I would do it. Sure, I don't know. Anyways, it came with that. And then it came with the actual blade itself. Let's see if I can just show what this looks like. So that's the blade there. I want to take it off here and show you how to change the blades as well. So 3 blades. Let's just talk quickly about the tool, the materials. Okay, so a nice long cord. It's made out of a nice rubberized type of material. It's not a cheap plastic cord, so I'm sure in cold weather it won't get all rigid and hard to work with. Comes with 2 Allen keys, 2 hex wrenches for well, to take apart the tool or change the blade and various other things that it's required for. So anyways, 2 of them. It is nice that it's mounted right on the cord so you don't lose it. Kind of a throwback to the days of mounting a chuck on an old school drill. Rubberized handle. Kind of an interesting position for cutting. I guess your hand doesn't get in the way when you're looking down this way. I don't know. It seems okay. I don't know how fond I am of it, but I've used it a couple times. Seems alright. We'll see in long-term usage. So a dust vent collector piece thingy fits in there like that, and it adjusts around so you can stick your standard vacuum cleaner hose, your shop vac, to this for dust collecting. It comes with this guide for cutting, for ripping, so it fits in there like that. And again, Allen screw to adjust that. So you slide it through and you can adjust it to whatever length you want. So a parallel cutting guide, I guess. Laser. So I turn it on here. It's a self-contained batteries. Seems to be accurate. My experience with lasers on power tools haven't been the best. In my opinion, if it was good, they'd be putting it more and more on the DeWalt and the Milwaukees and the Makitas tools. It'll probably not be very accurate over time, but who knows. Alright, so that's kind of just the overview of the tool. Oh, and also it has this plunge cutting. Like, it has a lock here so that you can't plunge with this until this is released, and then it's like a dual stage trigger like that. It's okay. I could see the reasoning for it. It's kind of a pain in the ass in my opinion, but I guess they put it on there for a reason, safety. Alrighty, so, and then the bottom is just standard steel, brushed steel. Alright, so I'm just going to reset the camera and then just show you how the little guy works. Now I hope I don't get too long-winded with this review, because I'm going to do a comparison to my other circular saws with this, just because I want to make sure anyone who's watching this doesn't buy this for the wrong reason. I have yet to really find a great use for this tool. It seems in practice that it's a really neat tool. By the name they're trying to market as the Versa, so versatility. It seems to me more like a hobbyist saw, to be totally honest, or a very limited use in very specific circumstances that you need. I could see this being used in flooring, and the plunge cut feature is kind of nice. So, however, when you're just cutting a regular piece of wood, you have to pull in on the trigger and then plunge to start your cut. If you're cutting something small and it's not mounted on something or clamped down, it has a tendency to maybe deviate a little. You might not get the perfect cut. Maybe you could just adjust the depth properly, just to like whatever this is, 3/4 inch plywood, and then you plunge so you don't cut into your other material. You have a piece of sacrificial material underneath here, and then you cut through. So you kind of do this. But it takes so much like strength to push down on this with one hand. They market this as a one-handed saw. It's okay, but in actual use, it's not that great. It's kind of stupid, to be honest. The plunging idea can be very useful, I'm sure, if you need to rip out a piece of flooring. Let's say you need to make a cut and you need to cut out a square in flooring, or maybe you need to rip out, I don't know, a tile with the tile saw. Yeah, then I could see that being probably useful. Maybe cut out the grout, but there's other tools that can do that. So, as you're cutting through, and I'm going to do some cuts here and show you, it doesn't really work that well. It cuts really straight and really accurate, but other circular saws do it just as well, and this is such a specialized tool that I don't know if it's actually really required. Maybe some of you would have a use for this. I don't know. It depends on your circumstance. Okay, so anyways, that's just my overall initial impression of the tool. And I have used it a little bit to cut certain little pieces of wood. Now, to take the blade off, and I know this review's all over the place, but it's just I'm not sure how to even talk about this tool. So this here adjusts the depth, so it's a depth stop for how far the plunge goes. And it goes from 0, which won't let you move it at all the way to 1 1/16. So, all the way up. So you can kind of see there. So you can cut 1 1/16 of depth, I believe. I'll just measure this with my caliper here, just so you guys know exactly what the deepest cut you can get. So, maybe caliper wasn't the best for measuring this, but I'll eyeball it. Yeah, 1 1/16. Yeah, roughly that. Okay, so let's take apart. Let's see how we change the blades on this guy. Okay, let's take the blade off. Grab the 2 Allen keys that were stored back here, and then you put it in either side of the tool, and then you're going to, there we go, and also it's counterclockwise to take this nut off to change the blade. So it's got this bolt and this little collar thing, and then your blade just comes right off. And that's the blade there. So this is the, I think it's 44 tooth wood blade. It's got a nice thin kerf. I'll give this saw one thing, that it's got a very good, these blades are really thin. So again, probably aimed towards more of the hobbyists. Maybe a homeowner might have a good use for this, like minor jobs, but we'll see. So I'm just going to compare this to my other saws, and I know they're not, I'm comparing larger saws to this, but I'm just wanted to make you aware of the fact that most of the time you can get away using a regular circular saw, especially some of the smaller cordless ones, as opposed to this guy. This guy is a neat tool, but I'm just trying to think, if you were maybe some type of hobbyist, you would have more of a need for this. But let's try cutting some stuff with it. Okay, I got my speed square. I'm just going to make a quick line. I'm going to cut it freehand without that, just to... So again, I'm trying to line this up now, and I guess I could line it up like this, and I could plunge into it, but it's really awkward for something small like this. So I'll try it. I got the laser lined up on it, pulling it on the trigger. See, right there, as soon as I pulled the trigger, the saw jumped. So maybe I get it running and then I line it up, which seems kind of dangerous, but anyways. It's got lots of power for a little guy, 4 amps. Cuts through it, no problem. Now, what I like normally doing is I like using my speed square as a guide for cutting. So obviously that wasn't a fair assessment. I could have done this instead. And you get a nice straight cut. So that is one option, and that's typically how I like cutting. I like using that with my circular saw. It's a great way to do cuts without using a chop saw. So there you can see how it cuts. Now the plunge cutting. So the way the plunge cutting works, maybe I'll reset the camera for the plunge cut. So I've reset the camera. I have a piece of 1/2-inch plywood set up so that I can plunge cut into it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the saw here, and I'm going to start it up, run it, and then plunge into it, and then cut out. And then I'll leave a little piece here just so you can see that it is a plunge cut, how it would work. So, alright, let's do it. So, in terms of plunging into something and cutting, it works quite well for, the plunging part. The actual, most of the time you're not going to be doing plunge cuts. Most of the time you're going to be cutting like this. So it cuts well. It's just that plunging is really awkward unless you have a real use for it. I don't see the need for it. Now, just to compare it, one last thing to compare it, and then I'll go over the last part of the review. I'll compare it to my other saws. Okay, so this is my go-to saw, my DeWalt framing saw. It's got a, I forget what the size of the blade is, maybe, I think it's 8-inch, 7 something. Like, if you look at the size, this is definitely significantly smaller. So you're not going to be cutting the same stuff that you would be cutting with a normal circular saw. Well, actually, this is even smaller than a normal circular saw. However, this, again, probably certain circumstances, thin materials, flooring probably really good for that because of the plunging ability. But then again, with a regular circular saw, you can always set like that and then plunge into your material. So size-wise, obviously a bit different. This is certainly going to be more bulky and awkward and heavier. I also have a Black & Decker one, which has a smaller blade and a thin kerf as well. This I generally go to if I need to cut smaller materials until I got this. But again, for this I haven't actually really found a use for it around the house that much. So maybe some of you will, like I said. So that's compared to the size comparison between the other saws, and you're just going to get more use, I think, out of a saw like this for regular use. However, certain circumstances, this saw might be really good for. The ergonomics are okay. It's just weird how you cut with it. I don't know if I would personally go out and purchase this saw. For some of you who are hobbyists, cutting thin stuff, who don't mind a cord, because it is corded, it's probably a good tool. Worth the price? I don't know what the price is at the moment, but it's certainly well over $100. It is well made, the materials are good, so I can't knock it for that. I just don't see myself using this all that much, except for in and I know I've repeated myself several times, in limited circumstances. So that's kind of my overall impression. I've seen some other reviews on this saw, and people were like touting how great this saw was. It's okay. It's innovative. Rockwell does a good job on that. I have other Rockwell tools, so I'm certainly not biased towards Rockwell. I have the Blade Runner, like I said, and I also have an oscillating tool that works really well. But this tool is very limited in use. You're probably better off getting a regular circular saw, but again, depends on your application. So anyways, hopefully that wasn't too much of information or too much of a rant around going over this saw. It's too bad, because I really want to like this saw. It's just I can't see myself pulling this out very often. Alrighty, thanks for watching. If you have any questions about this saw, post it in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them.